Hi class. I'm going to show you how to do some patterns in Illustrator today. We're going to start with the simplest patterns and we're going to move on from there. You'll see here that I have my document that I had made previously with my color swatches in. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new document to create a pattern. So we'll go File, New. Remember that you want to have it be a letter size document, 8.5 by 11, make the units be inches, and we'll say OK. Now you'll notice that what happens is up here I have tabs, so my new document is here in a tab. My swatches document is still up here, so you can click any tab and get back to the document you want to get back to. What I want to do is I want to copy my swatches and paste them into that document so I have the colors. So using my black arrow tool, I'm going to box around them, Control C or Command C, come back to my document, Command V. There's my swatches. I'm going to move them off to the side so they don't get in my way. So the first thing is, let's say perhaps you might want to do a solid color tie. That's the easiest pattern or non-pattern. So remembering that Illustrator, there is nothing in the background. It's not really a white background. It's just empty because it's a vector program. So if you want to create a background, say I wanted to have a solid color tie, what I would need to do is draw a box in the background. So using the box drawing tool, I will draw my box. Now I want it to be one of these colors, so let's say I will grab my eyedropper tool and I will click on, say I want a light blue background. There we go, I have a light blue background. So then I would File, Save As, and save this as, I'd call it solid perhaps. So that's one down. Next, another new document. I'm going to call this Wave Stripes because that's what I'm doing. I'm going to do 8.5 by 11 units or inches. I'm going to do this pattern here. So the trick to doing stripes, there's a couple of tricks. Number one, some people might think you have to draw a box the width of the stripe. Well, remember, always let the computer do the work that it can. Why should you work any harder than you have to? So I'm just going to draw a line. Also, I'm going to draw my stripes horizontal because there's a tool that I can use that allows me to equally space things apart. But it only works if you're horizontal or vertical. You can't do it on an angle. So I'm going to draw them horizontal, then I'm going to tilt them to the angle when I'm completely finished. So I'm going to take my pen tool, click. If I hold down the Shift key, it lets me make it perfectly level no matter where I click. Even if I would click up here, it would still be a level line. So it came in as your basic white fill and black stroke. I want no fill. Well, actually, that's not true. I want the fill to be the color of my, oh, I forgot, I need to bring in my swatches. So I'll go back to my swatches here. They're already selected, copy, come back to my wave stripes, and I'm going to paste them in. So I have them over here. So I want the stripe to be, let's say, the dark blue. So I use my eyedropper tool, I click on that, but you see it has a dark blue fill and no stroke. I want the stroke to be dark blue. So this little arrow here, swap, fill, and stroke, also Shift X. If I click on it, whoops, it wasn't selected. Must be selected for it to work. Select my stripe. Oh, I did my swatches. Okay. All right, so I'm going to deselect my swatches, select my stripe. See, it's easy to make mistakes. You can easily go back and fix them now. Take my eyedropper tool, click on that. Now I need to swap my stroke and my fill. And now I have the blue stripe. Of course, it's a little thinner than I want, so I'm going to come up here to my stroke menu and just go it until it's what I want it to be. Why does that not look blue? I guess it is the blue, yes. Okay, so there's my blue stripe. You notice I ran off the edges a little bit. That's fine. In fact, I might even run off the edges a little more because I'm going to need a little, when I tilt it to an angle, I'll need a little more width than what's going on here. Now, keep in mind that you're going to be drawing your tie on this shape in the middle here, so you want to make sure you fill the tie. Doesn't matter how much it goes past the edges, or if it doesn't even reach the edges, but if it won't cover your tie, then that won't work. Think of this as a piece of fabric that you're cutting your tie out of. All right, next I have this blue stripe. Rather than bother to draw it again, I'll do a copy and paste. bring it up here where I think I want it. I'm going to click on my light blue swatch. That gets light blue in the fill. Swap the stroke and the fill. And this is a wider stripe, so I'm going to do this again, but maybe like that. So I'm going to bring that, well actually I can use the arrow keys and just kind of bring it down. It looks like it's right up against that blue stroke, so I'm just going to do that. Now I have this yellow gold stripe, so I'm going to copy and paste this again. Put that up here. Use the eyedropper tool to get the gold color. Now I could also go into my colors here and type in the numbers if that's easier, but I kind of like using the eyedropper tool because I'm lazy. Switch the stroke and the fill and make it as wide as I want it. So I go back to my stroke menu, and this is a real wide stripe, so something like, maybe not quite that wide, maybe something like that. Now next I have this little wave pattern, so I need that. I could try to draw it by hand, but I don't think I'd be able to get it, properly equally spaced. So I'm going to see if the computer can do something for me that's a little better than I could do by hand. So I'm going to copy and paste this. I'm going to first of all make it into a red stripe. So I will use my eyedropper tool to click on the red. I will swap the stroke and the fill. Now I have a red stripe. I think I want it a little bit, maybe like that. So let me see. There's effects up here. So while the stripe is selected, I'm going to my effects. And under distort and transform is probably going to be the most useful. So let's say we can look at roughen. What does that do? You're going to hit preview. No, that's not what I want. So you just have to sort of play with these and see if anything does what you want it to do. I'm going to try zigzag. Click on preview. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. A little taller. All right, so that's a start. It doesn't have, I could go smooth, but I think I'm going to start with the corner. It doesn't have quite the shape I want, but I've got something to work with. So I'm going to say, okay. Now, in order for me to manipulate this more, you see how it's still a line drawn? This is just an effect on it. I want to make that effect into the actual line. In other words, expand the appearance. So under Object, Expand Appearance, and now it's as though I drew it. I have my points and stuff. So in my wave here, the top is a point, but the bottom is rounded. So I think the first thing I'm going to do, oh, you know what? Let me go back, because I think it would have been easier, whoops, for me if I would, yeah, go back. If I would make this effect rounded, and I think I can make it points easier than vice versa. So, like I said, this is kind of a, you're going to experiment with this to see if you can get what you want. Sometimes it'll be great to get something that you need. Sometimes it won't. I'm going to make this rounded. I think it'll be easier for me to get what I want if I start with a rounded edge. So I'll say okay. So now I'm going to expand my appearance. Expand appearance. So now what I want to do is I want to select just the points at the top, so I can box around those with the white arrow, which is direct selection. And you'll notice those points are selected, but these are not. So what I want to do is I want to make all of those points, well actually I probably didn't need to select them all. I'm going to use the Convert Anchor Point tool and make them into corner points. So you see now I'm getting the idea of the shape that I wanted. It has that pointy top. So the next step would be I want to move that pointy top. Here's where I'll take the white arrow tool, select those points. Once again, the bottom points are not selected. I'm using my arrows on the keyboard, and I'm turning them to there you go. Oops, I missed that one. Haha, I missed one. Oh, I can do it now. Okay. It's not quite the way I've drawn it, but maybe I like that. Maybe that's good enough. Maybe it's all I need. So I'll move it in there and see if it is in fact. I could maybe at this point see, I'm gonna make it a little shorter. Yeah, I think that's okay. It gives the feel that I want it to be. Okay, so now I have one segment of my repeat, which is just, the stripes. Everything else is just a repeat of these. So you guessed it, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to let the computer repeat it for me. So I'm using the black arrow. I'm selecting the whole thing. I'm going to group it because I want all these pieces to act as one object. So I'll go to Object Group. So now when I click on anything, it selects the whole group. So I'm going to copy and paste. Copy paste. So now I have two of them. I'm just going to roughly put it in place because I have a tool that will let me to line it up exactly. So now I'm going to select both of them. Copy paste. So you see, the more you have to select from, the faster you're going to get this. Select all four. Copy paste. And I'm basically just just going to fill my page here. I probably only need two more up there, so I'm going to select these two. Copy paste. Get them up there. Okay, so now I have, somehow got extra ones that I wasn't counting on. You see, if you don't grab on an actual object, if I try to grab here, it's not selecting because the line is only here. And that's just a stroke around it. So there's really nothing here to grab onto. So you have to make sure when you're selecting, that you're actually hitting a path. I don't need that one, so I'm going to delete it. All right, so you see I have the page filled, but they're not lined up very well. They're not equally distant. I'm going to select everything and Align and Pathfinder, which you can find up here under Window. If there's no check mark, it's not open. If you click on it, it will open. So this gives you a bunch of things you can do with the paths or with Align. I'm going to use Align. If you hold your cursor over, it tells you what it'll do. Horizontal, align, center. That's not what I want. The little picture kind of shows you too. I want them equally distributed like this. So I'm going to click on that, and there, it made them equally spaced apart. So now that's pretty much my pattern done, except I want to now tilt them to be at the angle that I want them. So I'm going to select them all and use the rotate tool and just rotate them. Let's see, maybe like that. Now you notice my whole, maybe a little more. Now you notice my whole page is not filled. I'm not going to worry about that because I'm going to draw the tie here. I'm probably okay. If you think it's not going to be okay, you can grab this and carefully, so that you don't move it from where it was spaced. You can, so I can grab this one and but you have to be careful you don't mess up the alignment because I had them perfectly spaced. So I think that's fine. I can draw my tie. See, my tie is going to be right in here. Plenty of space to draw my tie. So there's my first pattern finished. So I will do File, Save. It's going to save it as Wave Stripes because that's what I already named it. Putting it into my tie project folder, and I'll save it. So that's that pattern done. I'll go on to more complex patterns in the next video.